Camille Robb has 25 years experience, hands-on experience, caring for children of all ages. But I would be remiss if I didn't add the adjective, fabulous Camille Robb. Camille, it's so great to have you here on Los Angeles. Hang on a second.
Take that out, cut it out.
Cut it out.
Let's stop and start again.
Camille, it's so great to have you here on Los Angeles Tribune TV. I want to ask you, how did that adjective come to be? How did you become known as fabulous Camille Robb?
It's such a pleasure being here, Shirley. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited. I can't wait to dive deep into whatever you guys have in store for me because I have no clue, but I'm loving it. So the name Fabulous came from my grandmother. When I was a child, she gave me that name. I was born to a young mother, and my grandmother took her in and helped her to the position where I was born. And she said, "This is going to be a fabulous child." And ever since I was growing up, she kept calling me fabulous. This is my baby. This is my fabulous baby. And it just stuck with me. That name stuck with me. She gave me that name, but they never put it on my birth certificate. Never. And as I grew up, I was like, nah, I don't think I'm fabulous at all. That's just a name, you know? We used to say it's just a slang they gave you. I realized that that name is me.
Was there ever a time, and tell me a little bit more about that, why didn't you feel like that adjective suited you at certain times of your childhood?
You know, you were a kid at that time, and anything my grandmother said was golden, you know? But as I grew up, life's getting in the way, and you start thinking, hey, that name is for somebody unique, somebody special. And I didn't think I was special. My grandmother is the only one thought I was special. And I kept saying, nah, that's not me. When I turned 18, I was like, no, that name is not for me. And I stopped. I stopped using that name.
What was your childhood like overall? Let's say from 0 to 10 and then 10 to 20. What was it like?
Well, growing up was not easy for me, you know. At one time, food was a problem for us as a child because, you know, when you have a young mother, she's not sure of how to take care of us. So whenever we were with her, we needed to have food, you know. When we were with our grandmother, we had everything we need. But food was a problem. And as I had to figure it out, and I had two younger brothers. I remember one time my brothers were fussing and crying, and I got tired of it. And I'm like, what's wrong with you guys? Why you guys keep screaming and fussing? And I'm like, I can't do anything about it. And we were left just us three. We were young, you know. I think I was like about 10 years old. And we were there, and I'm like, I can't take this. I was tired because I was the babysitter. You know how that goes. The oldest one is always the babysitter. And my next door neighbor had dogs. And I knew my brothers were hungry. My next door neighbors had dogs. And I crawled underneath the fence because I've always played with the dogs. So there was never a threat. I was never scared of them. So I crawled underneath the barbed wire fence, pulled the zinc. There's a zinc, rusty zinc, to separate us from the house. And I snuck in there because I know my neighbor always feed their dog at a certain time. And I had my red bowl, and I remember that. And I took that red bowl and I sat there and wait before they start eating. And I was talking to them, and they would step aside and let me take from the bowl. And I took from that bowl, wrap it up, put it in or back underneath my dress so it wouldn't spill over, pull up that barbed wire, went underneath that fence. My brother them didn't care where I got the food from. They wanted to eat. When they were finished eating, they went to sleep. And I had a moment of peace when them suckers went to sleep. And I was like, I still remember me doing that as a child, feeding my brothers from the dogs both. But in Jamaica, the food that they give the dogs were healthy food. It wasn't like the junk that they give them here. They had turned cornmeal, and in it there was corn, there was carrots, there was you know, it was a real meal. So it wasn't anything that's going to make us sick. And I ate it a few times. It didn't do anything to me. Look at me. But
Well, I know that you are heavily involved, obviously, in all kinds of children's causes. I mean, you are an advocate for children and actually all people, but especially children. And I wonder if you can explain to us how those childhood experiences help lead you to that path of wanting to give back to children.
well, one of the main reasons, especially when it comes to hungry, I don't think any child should be hungry at all, period. No one should be hungry. And when I migrate here, of course, I'm from Jamaica original. A lot of people don't know that, but I am from Jamaica. And I came here when I was 18 years old. And I started to work. The first job I got was working at McDonald's. That was my first job. And then I got hired to work at a daycare center. And in the daycare center, there was my classroom, I had 27 kids. And if you know anything about children, that's 27 different attitude, different, everything was different. And I'm like, whoo, never taught children before. This was going to be my first experience. And God help me. When I stepped into that classroom, it was a mess. It's like they were everywhere buzzing and roughhousing and making noise. And I was like, their children shouldn't behave like this. That's what I kept saying to myself. Children should not behave like this. These are not children. They remind me of Gremlins. You ever seen the movie Gremlins?
I did.
Okay. So imagine one moment they're fluffy, the next moment they're about to eat you up. And I'm telling you, I remember after months being in the classroom and I start learning the different attitude, the different way about how they deal with each other. And I realized most of those children were just like my brothers when they were growing up, they were hungry. And that's when I started. I started to take my money that I made and I would go to Walmart. I remember going to Walmart, buying groceries, and I would cook. And those little pancakes, those silver cakes that you can buy in a pack, I used to buy those and buy the sausages, cut them up, and grapes. And in the morning when they show up in my classroom, Monday morning when they show up, I close the door because we weren't allowed to feed them. So I would close the door and push the chair. And the kids were like, Miss Camille, what are you going to do? I said, we have to eat before we start school. And they're like, okay. I said, but if you make noise, and they come in here, they're going to take our food away from us. So you guys have to be very quiet. And that's how I got them to not move and not scream and not make noise and not fight each other. They helped me set the table, I taught them how to set the table, and we set the table. And when the food went on the table and those children start to eat, all you hear, it was gone, just like that. The first time I did it, I was like, so this is the reason why they were behaving like that. They needed food.
What kind of bond do you think that you created with that first initial group of students? What kind of bond, or how did it change the bond, the student-teacher bond in that case, when you recognized that there was a problem, then you sought out to find the solution and provided it to them?
They trusted me. They trusted me. And I explained to them, I said to them, if what I'm doing right now, I'm not supposed to. I explained that to them and they would ask me why. I said, well, we're not supposed to feed you guys because your parents are the ones that's supposed to feed you. But I want to make sure you guys are okay and you guys are full so you guys could sit with me and learn. So when your tummy is full, you can learn better. And they understood, and they never gave me any problem. And they would take the chair themselves and put it up against the door because I let them know if the principal or any other teacher come in while we're doing it, they'll stop it and they won't be able to eat. And these kids are so smart. They knew that if they didn't, if I got into trouble for doing that, then it will be taken away from them and then they won't be able to eat. So they had my back. They trusted me. I had problem with those children going home. They didn't want to go home. They wanted to stay with me. They would cry.
And so you started this really as a young adult.
Yes.
You started this at a very early age. And I asked you a question earlier. I didn't give you an opportunity to answer this, but the age, let's say from 10 to 18, when you immigrated from Jamaica, what was life like between 10 and 18? Did you have was it a good teenagehood, or was it a struggle?
It was a struggle. It was a struggle being a teenager because I was the girl that took care of my brothers. I was the babysitter. I was the mom. I was the person that made sure if they need anything, they get taken care of. From 10 to 18, I was it. So when we migrate here, it was a bit of a wild side that happened when we migrate here. But when I was 16, I graduated from high school when I was 16 years old because I wanted to get out of there. High school was just that's it. When friends are playing and doing this, and I didn't have a chance to do that because I had to be trying to figure out how am I going to make sure my brothers are okay.
And so that mothering and that sense of mothering and nurturing really stemmed from a very young age for you, continued all through to the point when you started teaching and working at McDonald's and then starting feeding children. And that's where I really want to pick up the story, because this series is really about the leaders who give back. And what I'm realizing is that you've been giving back for a long time. What is it that drives you to continue to do this kind of work? I mean, you're a mentor, you're an entrepreneur, you're an author, you're a global speaker, an advocate for children. I mean, you play so many roles and you're involved in so many things. What is it that drives you to continue to do this important work?
Just to have an impact on the world, to put a child in a position where they can help themselves, and put it like this: if I can teach you how to feed yourself, you could feed yourself, right? If I can teach you how to do a certain skill, I'm teaching you something that you could teach someone else. So each one teach one.
You are the CEO of Just Fabulous Care, and that involves, and I think you also work with exchange students from all over the world. And it's so interesting when I, read up on all of the things that you've been involved with. Do you have any one particular avenue that you feel the most drawn to, or is everything is it equally important to you?
It's equally important to me, but I have a sense of excitement when it comes to my exchange student, because when I came here from Jamaica, I had a problem that I am now the solution for my student, because I had that problem. When I came here at 18, I wanted to get, my grandmother wanted a nurse, and that's what she wanted. And with everything that she's done for me, I said, I'm going to be a nurse. So I tried everything in my power to find out, how do I go to school? What do I need to make my life easier? But it was hard because coming in from a different country, America are not very nice, okay? They were never very nice to me. They're like, oh, you come in here to take our jobs, you come in here to do this, and everything was negative. And I didn't like it. And I had to figure it out again on my own. And when I did get into college, I remember when I got into Valencia, that's this college that I got into. And I said to myself, this is so hard. So imagine other colleagues of mine, immigrants that's coming in, what they have to go through. And from then I started thinking, how am I going to fix this? Because that's my thing. I need to find a solution for the problem, so we don't have a problem. That was me. And I did it. I started my own exchange student program. And before I started the exchange student program, I had a daycare. Remember, I told you I started out working with children at a daycare. And then I migrated from that for years working in the daycare. I'm like, because when you're in a daycare environment, they tell you what to do with the student. They limit you what you can do. And children, you don't put limit on children, especially when it comes to learning, because as long as the brain is open and the heart is ready, you teach, they will learn. But they wouldn't allow me to do that. So I got married to my husband that I've known ever since I grew up with him. So when I met him, I was 10 years old. He was 12. And he said, so what are you going to do? I said, I want to do something different. My daughter, I had my daughter. I got pregnant and had my daughter, and I was homeschooling my daughter. My daughter was so smart that I'm like, there's something else out there for her apart from me, because when she was 2 years old, this girl had everything that she needed. She knew exactly what she wanted to do. Okay. And I was like, I have to send her to a school. And nobody wouldn't accept her because she was 2 years old. And I found one teacher, Miss Wilder. I visited the school, the private school with her. I said, my daughter is only 2 years old, but she's very smart. She said, okay, I'll test her. And she tested her. My daughter was at 5 years old instead of a 2-year-old. She tested at the 5 year old. And I said, okay. My husband said, so you need to do what you did for her, you need to do it for the kids. So how about this? You need to start your own daycare. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. And I waited. And then my son, 4 years later, my son showed up. I was like, and my husband took, my neighbor had a daycare. And my husband took my son to the daycare because I was working at the time. And he came home with a different pacifier. My son never took a pacifier. His face was nasty. My husband said, I don't know what you plan on doing, but you have to do something because he's not going back. I said, okay.
And that's the pattern. That's the pattern that rises up here when I hear about your life, is that problem, I find a solution. Another problem, no problem, I have a solution. Oh, there's a problem, I'll create the solution, which I think is so brilliant. I love that. So going back to the exchange students, that's a whole other arena. So you were bringing in people from other parts of the world. How many exchange students might you have brought into your program or into your home over the years, do you think?
Well, I have over 100 kids that came to my house. Yes.
Wow.
I've been doing this for over 25 years. So personally in my home, I think my husband and I probably hit about 500 kids personally in our home. Okay. Because we have kids from Japan, we have kids from China, we have kids from Peru, we have kids from Congo, we have kids from Germany, we have
wow.
and I can go on.
But I could imagine that in the process of doing that, not only are they learning about American culture and what life is like here, but my guess is that you would have learned a lot as well in the process.
You have no idea. Learning the culture of another student, it blows your mind. I remember one year we had 8 students in our house, 8. And they was from 6 different countries and 2 was from one country. And they had, was soccer season and the countries were going against each other. The best part about it, they only speak English in my house. So you cannot speak your language because everybody needs to understand. And my husband was there in the middle of the whole thing like a big kid, and they were cheering and carrying on. And then when the one team would lose, then you hear the language come out and they start. I'm like, don't be mad because you lose. Okay, you go to the back of the line. Let's go again. It's just, you have so much respect for that person once you know about their culture and their lifestyle.
It's really about understanding and tolerance and just being open-minded to other cultures, which it sounds like in your experience when you came to the United States that you weren't met with that same grace. You weren't met with that same open-armed approach. And so you decided to do something about that. And I know that you've written books. I mean, you're an author, you're an entrepreneur, you're a mentor. What are the service projects that you are involved in now that really stand out to you and that you'd love to share with other people so that they can embark and maybe help out?
So one of my passion projects right now is providing education for children. So I have children here in the United States that I help with their education, and I have children abroad. Most of my children are from other country that don't have what we have because we take education for granted. We definitely do. And a lot of people think education is only in the classroom, and it's not only in the classroom. You're learning something from me right now. That's education. You see what I've been doing, and you looking at my lifestyle and say, okay, she's doing something that a lot of people are not doing. Like I said before, each one teach one. I have kids right now in Congo that's going to school. I have kids in Sri Lanka. I just got a certificate sent to me from one of my students. She's 10 years old and she's out of Sri Lanka. She's coding. She is ranked one of the 10 students in her country on coding, 10 years old. Now, if I did not take a chance and helping that one child, where would she be right now? I had a student in Congo, the same thing happened to him. I met him when he was 16 years old. He lost his mom and his dad. He was sleeping on floors. He wanted to go to school, but at the same time, who's going to send him to school? My husband and I decided, hey, we're going to make a difference in his life. And we sent him to school. And we sent him to school, and when he left the university, he was number one, top rank valedictorian. Because what? We start with one. I can't change the world, but I can help one person. I can't feed everybody, but I can feed one person. You can feed one person, you can feed one person, you can feed one, and that's how the world works. My husband and I made up our mind that we are going to impact the world and change lives, one child at a time. And we've been doing that on our own and loving it. So now what we decided to do different, because the government said you have to have something to show saying that you're a nonprofit. I don't believe in that mess, okay? But if you don't follow the rules, they burn you. And I don't want to be burned. So we decided last year that we were going to get a nonprofit. So we call it JFC for You, meaning that we're going to be caring for kids with or without you. I'm just as plain as it's going to be. A lot of people say, well, when you have a nonprofit, we will patronize you, we will help you with a nonprofit. But they don't realize we've been doing this for over 25 years. We weren't waiting for anyone to help us. We go out and do it. A lot of people are waiting for other people to help. Don't wait, just do.
What is a message that you would love to share with people who might not be, say, contributing to society in the way that they maybe think they ought to, or that might be in their heart right now? Because there are a lot of options, and there might be maybe some people don't really know what to contribute to because they want it to align to their own values. Do you have any advice for people who are maybe on the fence of like, where do I donate? What do I do? What charity should I support? What advice would you have for them?
Just do something. Because if you're not helping, you are part of the problem. You know that? The children that are hungry, and right here in the United States, we have children that are going to bed without food. I've worked with them. I've had them in my home. in my home daycare. I've watched it. I've studied this. I've seen it. But people are still waiting. A lot of people know what I've been doing, and we've been doing it for over 25 years. Oh, we will do. I'm trying to help you. Don't try. Just do it. I know certain people might give stuff and it goes to the wrong organization, or they find somebody else that doing something wrong, but you cannot stop that because of that. You still have to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the message, right? It's understanding that you can make a difference, just as you've been demonstrating, I think, through your entire life, is taking these steps and saying, if there's a problem, there's a way to find a solution. And I think your point about feeling like I can help one person, and that collectively together, that will make a big difference to the whole. So I want to ask you about your faith. Tell me a little bit about how that plays into your life and the work that you're doing. Do you feel like you are driven by your faith?
Yes, I'm definitely driven by my faith, because the stuff that I've grown through, I wouldn't say been through like people always say. The stuff that I've grown through have taught me that I am stronger than I think I am. And without my faith, I'm nothing. I remember we were just talking about that today in church, because I remember I was talking to Barbie, and Barbie said to me, I heard that you needed some that you're going to be serving. I said, yes. And we got probably about 150 something people outside. And everybody was saying that, hey, we're not going to have enough. We're not going to have enough ham to feed these people. We're not going to have enough ham. And I'm like, we have enough ham. Everybody's going to get a ham. Everybody will have enough food to feed their family. And I said, I don't want anybody in here but me. I went in there and I prayed. And I put my hand in that freezer and I start taking it out. I said, I just want to hear you count. Every time I come up, I want you to count for me. And we were counting and counting. I was putting the ham in the back, counting and putting the ham in the back. And Barbie said, all I heard is what, 152. I said, that's it, right? That's it. Did everybody get a ham? She said, yes, ma'am, everybody. I said, see, I told you. I told you. Without faith, we are doomed, okay?
Yeah.
We have to take control of our subconscious mind and I don't care who you serve. Everybody have their God here. They have this. Me, I serve God, okay? My faith is within God, because what he have done for me and my family, man can't do that, okay? I have watched my husband go to trial and tribulation. I went to trial and tribulation. We grown together, became one. He put us in a position so we can be a blessing to others. And as long as there's a God up above or inside or around you or wherever you might be, my faith will continue helping me so I can provide for others. My job is to feed the needs. So if a child needs to go to school, my husband and I will make sure that child go to school. If a child needs to eat, my husband and I will make sure that child eat. And that's all to it. That's all to it. We have to step up and make a difference, one person at a time. So you, Shirley, you can do one. I can do one. Deborah can do one. Stephen can do one. You just start just one. You don't have to try to conquer the world. Just one at a time.
Exactly. And I think that's the message that I think we'll depart with today from this interview, is this concept of, if there's a problem, there's a solution. You can be part of the solution, and maybe you don't have to, come up with it. You've been great at doing that throughout your whole entire life, is actually creating the solution. But I think that there's also an opportunity for people to participate in solutions that have already been built. And that's really what I'm seeing with you, right? And people may want to contribute, and how would they get in touch with you? What is the best way for people to contribute and join your cause?
And people always say, can I email you? No, I don't like email. Simple. You want to have a conversation with me? I'm on every social media that you can find. You could message me on social media. I like to talk to people, and I'm not afraid to put my cell phone out there because two things can happen. You're going to call me or you're not. I'm going to get prank calls. Yes. All I have to do is hang up. So simple. You want to know how you can help me, help others, help my organization? Here we go. Get your pen and your paper out and write this number down: 407 489 5738. I can't feed everyone, but everyone can feed someone. And it starts with you and you. That's simple. It's simple.
It is simple. Camille, this has been so fun just to chat with you. And really, I think that your name, Fabulous Camille Robb, is very apropos for who you are. And I've known you for